So the properties of a whole green bean that is blended and cooked in this way are completely different than a roasted coffee bean. Hey beautiful people, Connor here. How are you? Hope you're having a great day. So I just put out a video why one would want to drink green coffee, and you've probably seen that video, or you've seen something else in the world that has indicated whole bean green coffee could be a great thing to drink, and now you're coming here to this video to find out how to best prepare it. And I think I've got some pretty good techniques on how to prepare it. I've been drinking green coffee for, I guess, a little over 2 months, so I've had 60 days or so of preparing it in ways that were okay, some were better than others, and I think I found the best way to do it so far. Before I get into how to prepare it, I want to let you know you can get green coffee on Amazon. I was buying first a 1 pound bag, and then a couple times I bought 2 pound bags, and then finally more recently I bought a 5 pound bag. This 5 pound bag of organic Ethiopian coffee was $30. I will put a link to this and a couple of other of the green coffee whole bean products that I've bought that I think were great down below in the link. You can use that. It'll help me get an affiliate link kickback, and of course you'll be able to link up with your green whole bean coffee very easily. Okay, now before we get into it, we're going to do some really quick basic math. I talked about some of this stuff on the other video I made on why you would want to drink green coffee, but I think it's important to let you know green coffee does not have as much caffeine as regular coffee, as roasted coffee, the way we traditionally see it. It actually has 5 times less caffeine. It's more like a green tea. It doesn't even have as much as black tea. It's more like a green tea. So that's really nice for a product in the world that has a lot of nutrition to offer. It means that we can drink more of it. And I think it's absolutely a wonderful, warm, and delicious beverage to have in the morning, but you can also have it pre-workout or maybe pre-something you're doing that you need a little stimulation. And just in general, it's a nice drink to have around. So how we're gonna break this down is just the same as we would with coffee. And I looked it up just to make sure all the elements were right. And in general, most people are using about 2 grams of whole bean coffee. I mean, they grind it after, but 2 grams of whole bean coffee for 1 ounce of water. And this is 24 ounces of water, so we're just gonna double that and make that 48 grams of coffee. So I've weighed that out over here on this fantastic little scale that I use for all of my weighing purposes. And this is about how much it turns into. It's about a handful. And I haven't been weighing it until this video, but as it turns out, that's about what I've been doing. I just grab a small handful and I toss it in the water. So that's about the equivalent that maybe you want to try out for the first time. 48 grams of coffee beans for 24 ounces of water. How much caffeine is that going to be? Well, if it was regular coffee, that would be 300 milligrams of caffeine. That would really start your day out, that's for sure. This is only going to be 60 milligrams of caffeine. That's less than a regular 8-ounce cup of coffee. It's maybe the equivalent of an 8-ounce cup of black tea. So it's totally, you know, you'll feel it, but it won't run your whole day. So after doing this in a few different ways, I have determined that the best way to do this is to grind the coffee beans in a high-powered blender like the Vitamix with some water. The alternatives to that are you can make your green bean coffee whole. You can just put the beans right in. If you do it that way, you're going to want to cook it for a bit longer, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. Another way to do it is, of course, with a coffee grinder. But these beans are much harder in this state than they normally are when they're roasted. When they get roasted, the oils come out, they soften up a bit. In this state, it's kind of like grinding pebbles. So I have found that adding a little water into my Vitamix container, adding those beans, blending it up is the best way to get as fine of a powder as possible. So let's do that real quick. I'm definitely going to turn the noise off for you because I wake up all my neighbors when I do this. So I'm pouring in half of the water. So I basically blend it until the noise changes, when I stop hearing the little pebbles bouncing around the blades, and that takes maybe a couple of minutes. The reason that I saved half of the water is so that I can pour this out and you can see I've still got grains inside. So I'm going to use that other water to do a rinse. Poured that right into a saucepan, and I'll turn it on high. Now obviously if you were going to use a coffee maker or an espresso machine or a press, you would want to do the beans dry without any water, and you can definitely do that in a coffee grinder. It might shorten the life of your coffee grinder a bit, I'm not going to lie to you. But if you wanted to do it that way, you certainly could, and I did it that way for a long time. We've all probably had burnt coffee, over brewed coffee, or coffee that's been hanging out in a pot for way too long, and it starts to taste super acidic and it hurts the guts. It doesn't feel good going down. It's pretty nasty stuff. Well, that really doesn't ever happen as far as I can tell with the green coffee. It doesn't have that acidic taste no matter how much you cook it, no matter how much you boil it. Even boiled dark coffee can bring out this kind of acidic, acrid flavor, and it's really unpalatable. And this, it stays in pretty much the exact same state no matter how long you cook it, except of course maybe it gets a little more concentrated as the water boils off. I would recommend that you let this boil and then simmer for maybe upwards of 5 minutes. If you're doing the whole bean ungrounded, I would definitely do more like 10 to 15. So this bean that you can cook it for as long as you want, really, on a saucepan, I think is the best thing to do, because you're ensuring that you're getting all of the benefits that you possibly can out of this incredible green bean. So I'm gonna let that cook for a bit, and then I'll come back with you, we'll pour it into a cup, and I'll show you what it looks like. And of course, I'm gonna try it, because it's the morning and I'm really wanting a little bit of this stuff. So the water has boiled, it's been simmering for a few minutes. I'm gonna turn this off. I'm gonna temper the glass a little bit, so if you don't know what that's all about, just put a little hot water in the bottom of your jar if you're using a jar, and shake it around so the glass catches up with the heat so it doesn't break. I have broken so many mason jars in my life not doing that I just automatically do it. So how I do it is I just pour in the roughest amount that comes out on the pour. You can see that there's quite a bit of bean left over, but there's also quite a bit of bean in the bottom of the glass. So that's sort of like my container vessel, and then I use another mug to pour some of this. The reason I do that is this just gives it a chance to continue to be with the bean and to continue to cook it. And when I pour it into this cup, it cools off just a little bit. I'm able to handle it and hold it and keep it close by, and it's manageable. But I know that I want to drink about this amount, which is why I really like using the mason jar. So the properties of a whole green bean that is blended and cooked in this way are completely different than a roasted coffee bean. The smell smells more like peas or quinoa, and in fact, the taste is a bit like that as well. It tastes green. It tastes earthy. It's really mild. I mean, it really does taste like if you maybe cooked peas and quinoa together, and they were mild peas and quinoa to begin with in water, and you took the water and you drank it. It's pretty similar. At first, when I had this, I thought, it's okay, you know, kind of like it. But I've run out of the coffee before over the last 2 months, and I've had some black coffee. and I totally don't like black coffee anymore. I much prefer this. I much prefer the flavor. I prefer the way that it feels in my body. The caffeine that I do feel feels different. It feels like it integrates differently in my body, and I really like it. It feels more sustainable, a little more relaxed, and I'm talking about the equivalent amounts. So this is like this is important to notice. Like it has different properties in it, so the caffeine is carried and digested in a different way. The other thing that I'm doing that you may have noticed is I'm not filtering this, which means that we will be drinking some of the beans. And this is actually a really wonderful thing to do with any coffee product, because you're ensuring that you get some of the beans inside of your digestive tract, and specifically inside of your colon, where it can continue to do anti-glycation magic. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about and you want to know more, I'd really recommend you check out that video that I referred to earlier about why you may want to include green coffee in your diet. So much love to you. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to hear what you think about green coffee, if you had it before, if you're gonna have it. If you are looking to buy it, get on this link over here. You don't have to buy the 5-pound bag. I got the 1-pound bag over there too. Click on that link, purchase it through that. I get like, hey, 5 cents, something like that. That's great. And then you can share with me how it was in your life. Mwah! I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.